Cool. So we are going to review JavaScript object ball for a little bit and see what we got here. I actually haven't looked at this one in quite a while, so it's gonna be fun. So I know basically it was long ago. First question, I guess, is since this is for you all, what parts are you having difficulty with for starters? And we can maybe tailor stuff to that.
I don't know about everybody else, but I am honestly having problems with the entire concept of pulling information out of an object
Hmm.
in general, and particularly nested objects.
So what part are you having trouble with?
Well,
I guess, yeah, you go.
so it feels I was able last night. This is why I stayed up way too late last night and was super tired this morning and still am. I was working on this lab, and the very first deliverable on the lab to pull put in a player name and pull out a number of points scored. I got to a certain point where I was able to console log the number of points scored by that player. I just couldn't get it out of the function. I couldn't return it, and I don't know exactly what I was doing that caused that. But then I was like trying to fix that, and I ended up breaking everything, and now nothing works. So I think I need to.
Cool. I'm curious about that. We'll take a look at it in a moment. What other things are folks?
I my issue is pretty similar to Jason. Like I have problem accessing data and also like using debugger. I'm not sure exactly like I know where to put them, but it's not really working. So if you can show us like how to use it, like yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
My experience with debugger is similar. I found it to be intermittently useful and tend never to use it at all. I'm a big fan of console logs as debugging. Different people like different ways. So yeah, we can totally play with that as we go along. What else?
I had one quick question, slightly unrelated to anything we're about to talk about. Big shout out, Gabby. Oh, Gabby's not here. Damn. Gabby did that LinkedIn thread thing earlier. I was wondering how your guys's thing ends in your name with a slash at the end, and mine has some long string of numbers after it. Is there a way that you can? Is it like how do you grab that link that you guys posted into that thread?
I think there's something in settings or your profile that you can take off, but yeah, let's take a look at that after.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Any other object ball things that we want to focus on?
I would say grabbing whole arrays. I think some of the latter ones, the functions they ask you to build, like returns an array of the team colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I actually haven't cloned it down yet. So let me clone that down first. You don't have to watch me typing that. Anything else folks want to take a look at? Killing time.
I'm just here to glean any information I can. I haven't actually done the object ball. I just thought this would be good to follow along and grab whatever knowledge I can from this.
Awesome.
Also, where I'm coming from, I looked at it, but I avoided taking a stab at it. So
That is the safest option.
it sounded like that was the case. So it was a little intentional that I was waiting.
Always take a shot, even if it's a big shot. Swing big.
Can't fail if you don't try. Yeah, I did the same thing. I looked at the lab and then I focused on other things.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. Let me go ahead and share my screen then. I have some things up. Where's the share button? There is the big green one in the middle. Cool. Here's my screen. So this is my repo here. Pop open the README. Look at it like a human. Cool. So
Can I interject? Sorry, right at the beginning when you're getting moving.
Yeah.
Two things. One, only because I just saw what I saw, but I have never asked you how to pronounce your last name.
Major.
Major.
Yeah. It's
Perfect.
Polish. The J is pronounced like an I.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. Polish. So the other thing I just noticed that Major Arcana. I used to work for a machine shop called Arcana Machine. Where did you get the word Arcana from?
Tarot cards have major and minor arcana. So that's that.
Gotcha. Okay. Moving on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Cool. So we are so there's a couple parts of this, right? They don't give you the full data, right? They don't give you the object data. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a huge bummer. Okay. I'm going to give you some bonus content here. So what we have is tables here. We don't really teach regular expressions. I think that's a shame because they're incredibly useful across the board, no matter what language you're using. And even if you're not using a language, they are also useful. So let's take a look at what these tables look like. So cool. This is all in Markdown. If you're not familiar with Markdown, Google it. It's super simple and again incredibly useful. Especially you'll be using Markdown to write down your write down Markdown. You'll be writing your README files, which should be very nice. So basically, this is the data it gives us, right? Let's see if I can just copy paste this. Home team, away team. Awesome. So I'm going to pull this into a new file. So I want to turn this into JSON data. Okay. I assume they have a specific format? Populate your, great. So top level has two keys, home and away. Those are objects which have team name, colors, and players. Players is an object whose names are strings, or keys are strings that point to an object containing their stats. So we've got like 4 levels deep here. So how, I assume folks either typed it in or grabbed it from somewhere else. I think we used to have it in the repo. I don't know why we took it out, but this is a good opportunity to learn this stuff too. So basically we want to construct an object that looks, I'm just going to do this. This is all going to be kind of garble for a minute while we work it out, but that's okay. So we're going to have 2 keys, home and away. I'm just going to write those out. Boop, away. Boop. JSON would complain about that. So I'm just going to put in placeholders there. So these are going to be what? These are going to be, so the 2 keys, the values are objects. So I can do this here. So that's better. So we're halfway there. We're not. So cool. We have our team name and team colors. Colors are colors just a string? Is that right? Colors is an array of strings. Cool. So I'm going to take these and copy paste them up here. Boo. Take these and copy paste them.
Wait, are we doing JavaScript or JSON?
Great question, actually. So JavaScript is the language that we are using. JSON is a data format that can be used by many languages. So JSON looks kind of like a JavaScript object.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like a JavaScript object, but there you can use it across the board. We'll be using it later on to send information back and forth to a Python server. You'll get it back from external APIs a lot of time. It's just a data format that looks like JavaScript.
I thought for this stuff we are making JavaScript, no?
Oh yeah, I guess we are.
Oh,
we are. Got my brain too far ahead. Yeah, so this will be JavaScript,
okay.
But again, it looks exactly like JSON. So
yeah, it looks similar.
Yeah, so in that case, JSON's super picky about quotes and stuff. But JavaScript, we can leave the quotes off of our keys, which is nice. A little bit less typing, a little bit less fuzziness. Cool. So what do we have? We have a team name and colors. We're just going to do this here. And again, this is highlighted in both places, so I can hit Control D and it'll get both. And then I can delete it and do team name. And we have the This is fun. We have the colon there. I'm just going to put a quote and then go to the end of the line with command right and second quote and put a comma. Boom. Those two taken care of. And I'm going to do the same thing here with the colors. I'm going to highlight colors, command D to select both of those. Colors. Is it colors or team colors? Colors. Cool. Colors. And this is going to be an array. So I'm going to do an array open up here. Forward that. Now, can I do this? Let me see. I don't know if I can do it. Can I do a forward to the word with option forward? Yes, I can. Great. Put another quote there. Quote, and then end of line. So what I did there was hit option arrow to go forward one word. Boom. And there's our team colors array. Maybe not as fast as typing it out by hand, but still, if we had 10 of these, this would be faster. And we have a players array or a players object. Is that right? Players. Players is an object of players whose names are the keys. Great. So these are going to be objects too. And again, I have them in both places. Let's give her a little space to work with there. Great. So now we just have this tremendous lump of garbage to work with as data. So first off, I'm going to get rid of the headers here. Boy, wow, this is in terrible format. This is awful. Oh my God, what are we going to do with this? I don't know. I'm going to peel these off quick. And let's see. So the objects have player names as keys, and then the values are going to be all those. Okay. Oh, this is going to be super gross. Oh, I hate this so much. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I don't even know if I can do this, can I? I think I can. So I'm going to hit find here, and I'm going to click this little thing here, the dot star, and that makes the find regular expression find, which is way more powerful than your regular straight up find. So I can say stuff like this, and this is because I've been doing regular expressions for a very, very long time. They look like garbage. It's kind of like reading music. It doesn't look like anything, but after you do it for a while, you can kind of understand what it sounds like. That said, I'm going to start at the start of the string with a caret. I'm going to look for a pipe, which is a special character in regexes, so I need to backslash it. I'm going to look for 0 or more spaces with backslash star. And then I'm going to get those 2 stars and match those. And now I want to match player name. Yeah, okay. Player name. Match this. Doesn't look like much yet. 0 more spaces and our pipe. Great. So we know that anything that starts with player name, we're going to pick up and use like that. Now, the cool stuff is, I don't know. I actually don't know if I can do this in here because the way it's formatted. So terrible. What I would like to do is pick up all of these and create keys out of them. So let me, so I don't think that's going to work. I think that is actually not a regular expression that can be matched. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to match names. So the names are keys. Yeah, Marcus, what's up?
For what I understood, what I think you're trying to do, can you highlight across that first row and then paste that into players, deleting the pipe and putting a comma to create the keys? Would that be easier than?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm kind of going to try and do. And if this doesn't work, I will quit and do it the other way.
Okay.
So basically in here, I want to search for sets of letters split up by pipes, right? I don't think this is going to work either because it's got those keys over there. Okay, this is terrible. I don't want to waste too much time on this. Here's the sneaky way that they don't want you to know about. I'm going to go to the repo here. Bring this over. I need to open. I'm going to go to the repo. The repo does not have the stuff in it. Doesn't have the good stuff in it. But we can see here one of the recent commits last year was revert complete solutions with comments. So I'm going to go to that. And hey, look at this. Here's our object. Blam. Cool. And that has all the solution stuff in it too, if you are wondering. So our object looks like this. Do all the things match up? Probably not. I think we're here. Is that right? Let me copy. Well, we want to put it in our source anyway. Object ball. Paste. And paste. There we go. Let me format. I think that's going to be, what are we looking at here? Players. This is like the worst part. And object. Cool. Format it nice, and we're good. Cool. So there's our object. This is so dumb. You shouldn't have to do this part. I apologize. What are we doing next? Let's take a look at the README while we're here. So yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Let's just jump to the first one and we'll talk about all the theory as we're building it. So our first one is going to be number points scored. So I'm just going to collapse this object so we have some room to work with. Write this function. Cool. So what does this do for us? This is going to take in an argument of a player's name and return the number of points scored for that player. So name and say and let's see, think about where the object will be in the player's. Great. So let's take a look at our object. So the things we're looking for are a player's name and the associated points. So our players are all going to be in this object in the home or away object. So this tells us one thing. This tells us that we're going to have to look in both of those to do our thing. So let's write that down. Look in both home and so yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So in the players array, so we'd have to go to home.players because that home is the key. The value of that key is an object. So in our object, we would say object.home, and that says, give me the value of the home key in our object. Since that is also an object in there, we can dot one more down. So if object.home is an object, and we want to look at the players, we can say object.home.players, and that will give us this object. Great. So let's just put this here. So it's going to be in object home players and in object away players, right? Cool. So now that we're down here at the players, so I'm just going to go do players first. How about that? And let's just throw in a constant to make it easy or more clear, not easy. Home players. What's up? Home players. That's going to be object home players. AYERS. And let's console log it here. Home players. And of course, we need to run that function. And we need it. Well, we need to put a name in there, but put it in later. Oh, let's put in Ben Gordon, whoever that is. I don't know if these are real sports guys or just made up. Cool. So I'm going to open up the terminal with control backtick down here. So I have, let's look at here. I don't need to do py anything. So let's run this. So right now I need to go into source. So there's our Dolo object ball. You're going to be working in the shell an awful lot. So as we work in the shell, I'm going to point out things that I do that is second nature to me, that is none nature to anyone who's not used it before. So ls is going to give you a list of the things in your directory. Anyone know what ls stands for?
List.
That is an excellent guess. And it would make sense, but it doesn't stand for anything. It is just where your two ring fingers are. It was easy to type, so that's what they used. Unix, everybody.
I had a sub local search.
Cool. So ls will just give us our list of things. We can pass in flags. So lsl will give us a long listing of all the stuff. And that gives us permissions, who owns it, how big it is, when it was touched last, all that good stuff. What we care about here is permissions. So objectball is just a JavaScript file. If we wanted to run it as a node program, which is basically just a fancy way of saying run JavaScript on the command line, we could fiddle with it, change the permissions, put a hashbang at the top. We don't need to do that. If we want to, we can say node 0, 0 objectball. Node is a JavaScript runtime, just like Ruby or Python or whatever has runtimes. It uses the same JavaScript engine as Chrome does, the V8 engine. So it should be relatively consistent across those platforms. Clearly, it has no built-in DOM stuff because it doesn't have a browser to look at. And likewise, this one has file access stuff and other things that a browser you really don't want to have access to. So JavaScript-wise, they're pretty the same, but they have different hooks into their environments. But the important part is we can just run objectball.js. And so right now, what are we expecting it to tell us?
I wouldn't expect it to tell us much of anything without passing an object into it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's walk through this.
I see. Never mind. The lab says to make an object or make the object a function, I believe. So that's where the disconnect was. I have mine in a function.
Oh,
we have to like call the object into the.
Fascinating. I would not do that.
I thought it was kind of silly too, but that's.
They're probably just trying to exercise calling functions inside of functions. Or
right. Right.
Yeah, that's an extra layer of garbage we don't need.
I'm going to remove that extra layer of garbage from mine.
Cool. So let's walk through it. Num point scored is a function. We're not using the name, so it doesn't matter what we're passing in right now. The first thing the function is going to do is create a constant called home players. It's going to assign a value to that constant, and that is going to be the object, the home key inside that object, and whatever the value of the player's key is in that object. So when we console out home players, what do we expect to see?
The object of names.
Yeah, a bit. So we're going to get this player object right here, ideally, unless I did something terribly wrong. Hey, it works. So right now, the value of home players is just that object, the value of the player's key here. And now we have something to work with. So again, we're looking for the points scored for a player. Fortunately, that is just a number that we can get out of it. So let's take the simple case and assume we're only looking at, let's look at the away players since I'm doing that one. So we have the away object here. The keys on the object are what?
The names.
Yeah, the player names, exactly. So since we have the name, we have a key that we can use. So if I say, how would I get the object for that player? If I want to say const player object.
Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if we have the name, which is a key in that object, how would we get the object that's the value of that key, given what we have here?
I don't see the names being keys of these objects at all.
Really? Tell me more.
Well, they're in a string, and the colon then supports an object itself. So I don't see Brendan Hayward as being a key, at least visually, in my brain. Is that wrong?
Yeah. it's wrong. So yeah,
No, that's fine.
yeah. So
I'm happy to be wrong.
yeah. So keys in objects are almost always strings. I think they are always strings in JavaScript. Even
They're
if
always in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, a key can be a string like this, and it implicitly puts the quotes around it, or a key can be a string that is multiple words. I mean, a key can be, blah 69 skull, like that. That is a valid key right there. And I've definitely used emojis in my keys in the past. Don't tell anyone. So any string can be a key, even a string that has multiple words there.
So when the name of the player has the colon and then it becomes an object after that, those are still number visually for me. Number :33. That is a key value pair.
That is, yes.
The pair for Brendan Hayward is all of those key value pairs.
So the pair is Brendan Hayward is the key, and the object itself is the value.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Cool. So how do we get this object then if we have the name given to us?
Is it home players and then square brackets and then name?
Yeah.
Player's name?
100%.
A name?
Yeah. So this will get us this object theoretically. Let's see if we are right. I've got 99% confidence in this. Great. So that is Ben Gordon's stats here, and we can see those match up. So we are getting this object here with the key Ben Gordon. If we call it again with this other guy here, Brendan Hayward, we should get both of those, right? So there's Ben's and there's Brandon's, and those match up. Cool. So let's just go back to caring about Ben. Cool. Does it make sense up to this point? And if not, let me know and we'll talk more about it.
When you pass a name into the constant, so you're defining player object equals home players. You pass name in the square brackets. What is that referencing? Where is that being directly referenced?
Can you say more? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Name on line 122. What is that referencing?
That is the parameter or the argument that's passed in to the function. So when we call num points scored.
Oh, and then you're passing that. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm currently getting a throw error when I do that node 00 object ball. Is there and I only have what you have at the moment. I commented out everything else. Is there anything that I should be looking for with a throw error?
What's the exact error you're getting?
Internal modules, CJS loader 998.
Whoa, I have no idea what that means. If you type node -v at your console, what do you get?
What is it? Just like one word?
Like we have here, node space -v.
Oh, okay. Here,
I'll give you the version number.
V18.12.1.
Cool, that's right. I'm curious about your error. Let's come back to it. Can you Google that exact error in the meantime and see if anything shows up?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not familiar with that particular little error there. Awesome. Any other questions? Does everyone understand this way that we're doing that? And if not, if there's any confusion I can clear up, let me know. What would happen if I did that? Does that behave the same way?
No.
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 That treats
Because
it
there's
like
a space in it, right?
Yeah. So what would this give me instead?
This is going to give you the variable itself as opposed to getting the value from the key. Correct.
What value is that going to return for me?
Probably undefined because
Yeah.
it is not defined at all.
Yeah, because this is actually looking for a key called name on the player's object, which unless we have a very strangely named player, we probably don't have. So yeah, when you are, and I think this is something that trips people up a lot early on. When you're using a variable as a key, you need to put it in square brackets. So we're getting the value of that variable as the key. If you just do dot a variable name, you're going to get that variable name's key out of a hash, which object, which we will see will be actually a shortcut later on. Don't worry about that yet. Cool. So we've got our player object. What do we need to do next?
Don't we need to somehow determine if we're looking for a player that's home or away?
Yeah, and we'll save that for the next step. Right now, I just want
Okay.
in the away. Yeah. So given that our guy is in the away.
Yeah, I was going to say I noticed home players equals object away players, and that's not right there.
Yeah. Cool. Let me just call that players. Oop, we do it in both places. Awesome. Cool. So what is our final objective, which is in reach now?
We have to retrieve the score and return it to
the
return it
points, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. How do we get the number of points? Now that we have player object.
It'd be return player object and then in brackets the points, because the player object should be
dot points.
Yeah, so we can do it either way. We can do dot points, or if we want to put it as a string, we could say,
and then it's in quotes.
Yeah. Those are equivalent, but since we have a nice name there, let's call it that. And so let's see, I'm going to console log whatever this returns. So this function is going to return something. I'm going to console log out what it returns. What do we expect that to come out to be? 33. I think that works. Great. Did everyone follow along with this part here? Or did anyone not follow along? And if so, how can I help?
I just missed how you got 33 to show up in the terminal. Was
so
that refreshing or how did that work? Not how you did it in terms of functionality, but I don't know. How did you just get 33 from Node? I guess I'm just not familiar with using Node in the terminal like that.
Yeah, so Node is just a way to run JavaScript files, just like you would run it in a browser.
Oh.
This is just a command line way to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should.
If you have any arbitrary
I've been wondering about that
Node,
for a
whatever,
long
that's really good.
Okay, so you're basically targeting. You're saying Node, and then you're saying the actual JS file.
Yeah. So
that's just
Node is the thing that, Node is the thing that takes JavaScript from wherever and runs it. And so we can say Node this file, and it'll look at that file, and if it is valid JavaScript, it'll run it, and if not, it
just runs it. Okay, fantastic, cool, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions about this part here? Going once. Okay, cool. So we've broken this down some. We could also, this is nice if you're having trouble understanding the layers. I find it really, really helpful because this is, 4 or 5 layers deep. There's no reason to keep that all in your head. So breaking it down is totally cool, especially if it helps you understand. You could also do something like, and it's going to complain because it's not going to get there, but I could say return object away players name points. And that should give me the same thing. If I console, let's see. Yeah, there we go. So these are equivalent here, these two parts. This is just doing it all in one. So it's saying, we've got an object. Take the away key of that object, take the player's key of the value of that away key, take the name as a key for that player's object, and that'll give us another object and give me the points, the key, the value of the points key for that one. So yeah, object away, players, name, points, 5 levels deep, ridiculous. But once you get it straight in your head, this becomes easier to read. So I would break it down as much as you need, and then as you progress, push yourself a little bit and see if you can make it more concise. And a lot of people kind of misunderstand this early on. They think less code is better. The fewer numbers of characters on the screen is better. That is not necessarily the case at all. What is better is something that expresses what you're trying to do in a way that you and other people can understand. So if you understand this better, fantastic. Rule 1. If you can understand that better, also good. If there's other ways, if you need to break it down every step, super fine. As long as you understand it, and maybe you can fuss with it later and see if you can do it a different way. So this is how to get it out of the away one. Any questions up to this point? I don't want to skip past anything people are confused about. All good? Cool. So now we need to do it for each of them. So if I was doing it the shorter way here, I'm going to keep this commented out here. So I can do away or I can do home. What is this going to give me when I run it? Since there's no Ben Gordon in home, what do I expect to get here?
It's going to return undefined.
Yeah, at best, I imagine we're going to get some errors. Yes. So yeah, cannot read properties of undefined. Ugh, what does that mean? What is undefined?
It just doesn't exist because there's no Ben Gordon, right?
Yeah. So the value of the key Ben Gordon in the home players array is undefined. So when we try to say undefined dot points, there's no points in undefined. There's no crying in baseball. So yeah, so that tells us that something is wrong there. So let's see what we can do about that. We need to check to see if that exists. So let's pull this out again. So I'm just going to pull this part out here. Give ourselves some room to play here. So this is what I'm looking for, and it's going to be, one of these is going to be undefined, right? There's going to be home players and away players. One of these is always going to be undefined unless someone's working for both teams. How do we say, give me the one that's not undefined? If I want to say, const players or const player stats. So I want to get the that stats object that we got before, like this. We want to get that from one of those arrays. We know one of them is going to be undefined. There are multiple answers to this question. I'm curious to hear how you did it.
Would you use like a if statement, like going, I mean, you could go the direction of an if statement. I don't know if that's like too cumbersome of code to really make sense here.
Yeah, so let's walk through that one. We have our two things here. So we can say if object home players, I could just copy paste that. So we can say if that's true, or we can say if it's not undefined, if we want to be picky about it. If that is not undefined, then our player stats, and player stats has to be a let if we're doing it this way because we're changing the value, equals this, right? Else, oops, not that way. Cool, away. Cool. So now we're going to have the right one. Let's see if that is correct. I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to return player stats points. Let's see if that works. No, what happened? Home player name can't read properties of undefined. Did I do it backwards? If home player name is not undefined, home player name can't read properties of undefined.
It's home.players with an S.
Players. Thank you. Perfect.
Also the top
In
one.
the if statement as well.
Yes.
Players.
Cool. Thank you. See, everybody makes typos. There we go. Cool. So basically what's saying is if there's a thing for that guy and it's not undefined, give us that one. We know that's not true, so we know it's doing the skip here and doing a second one. So that totally works. Rule one satisfied. Understandable.
For my own selfish interest,
Mhm.
would you mind horribly doing that as a ternary as opposed to an actual full out if else statement?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So and that means we don't have to do a let, we can do a const. So let's try it this way. We'll say const. Actually, let me do it here. Boop, boop. So we'll say const player stats equals and a ternary. So a ternary is in JavaScript. Wait for me to complain about Python ternaries. In JavaScript, we are looking at the condition first. So I'm going to leave out the undefined because undefined is falsy. So we can is less precise but more readable, I think. So I'm going to say if object home player's name. So if this is undefined, it will be false. Otherwise, it will be true. An empty array also is true because JavaScript. So we're just seeing, does this exist? And question mark, does this exist? If so, we're going to say it's that. Copy paste. Great, thank you for putting that back there. And colon is our else, and so that's going to be away. Semicolon. So this is saying exactly the same thing. It's saying if this is a thing, if it's not undefined, then the value of player stats is going to be the first one. Otherwise, it'll be the second one. Did I lie? Let's find out. Hey, it works. Cool. So that ternary is the same as that if statement, only a little bit shorter and more concise. Not necessarily better, depends on what you like. Any questions about the ternary here? Did anyone else solve this another way or have an idea of what it might be or what another way might be?
I was working on this problem and I used for loop instead of if,
Interesting.
and I didn't go anywhere with it. Would it work with for loop?
Yeah, so you could say something like for object keys of our object, which would give us both home and away. And then both of those, you could do a check inside there. Yeah, I mean, there's only 2 items to loop through, but you could definitely loop through it if you want. I'm not going to write that one out because it's a little bit clunky and confusing.
It was confusing.
Yeah, if it is by
I was trying to use a loop too. It was not effective.
Yeah.
And we can kind of see, like in the place that we're like, what we're interested in is player stats, and that is going to be one or the other. So that kind of that smells like an if statement or something. right?
Yeah.
If we had like a bunch of things, it would, like if there was 10 different, home, away, East Coast, West Coast, overseas, whatever, then a loop would definitely be more in line with what we're looking at. And it would definitely work for 2. It's just a different, coming at it from a different angle. I'm going to show one more thing that is basically the same, but a little bit different. Let's do const player stats. And I'm going to set it to, and check this out. So I'm going to say object home player's name. What's that? It's 2 pipes there. Or, yeah. Cool. I think that's going to do the same thing. Let's see if I'm lying or not, and then we'll talk about it. I'm not lying. Great. Cool. So does anyone know what this kind of thing is called? Is it
a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. This is called short circuiting. So basically what it is the way that, and this is taking advantage of the way that JavaScript works with logical operators. Basically, it gets the value of this one. So it could be an object or undefined. And then it sees this or. So if this is true, an or means that if either or both are true, it's true. So it's like, cool, I know this is a thing. I know this is true. I'm just going to assign it to that because I don't even need to look at the second thing. And the second thing could be complete garbage. We don't know. We don't care. It's never going to look at it if this is true. If this is false, then it's going to go on to the second one and say, okay, if this is true, we're good. If not, we're in trouble. So if the first one is undefined, which is falsy, it's going to give us the value of the second one, which I hopefully at this point will be an object. So this is just saying player stats is home player's name or away player's name. This is easier to read for me in this place because I've done this a lot. This may mean absolutely nothing to you and would be confusing if you came across it in someone else's code. It's just another way to do it. That is not exactly equivalent to these other ones, but close. Cool. So that was a long way to come for all this. Boom. And in fact, I can just say, when I want to get fancy, and make it a nice little one-liner. And again, this may be completely unreadable to you, in which case it is incorrect. If it doesn't make any sense to you, and especially if it doesn't work, we can't do that, but we can do, here's another fancy JavaScript thing that just got added. That is basically you'll only look for the thing if it is not undefined, and that works. Bonus, look it up yourself. It's fun, not necessary. It's a recent addition in the last couple of years. Cool. So we looked at a bunch of different ways to do that. Any questions overall?
Is there any strategies that you can suggest for finding out if you're overcomplicating things? Because it turns out that I was just completely overcomplicating this.
Yeah.
And it was like so much easier than what I was what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And all of it makes perfect sense.
Especially for like exercises like this, if you're looking at like a lead code high level thing, like it's probably going to be complicated. But for something like this that's clearly a week one thing, it's probably not a complex issue. So I think the gauge is, if it's confusing to you, it's probably overcomplicated. My recommendation would be to do just kind of what we did in the first part here. Just break it down as far as you need here. Even going so far as to say, like, okay, like the team is object away. Cool. We got that much. What's the next part? Players. Team players is team players. That reads like English, kind of. Player object is team player's name. Cool. And then, our points equals player object points, and then we can return the points. That breaks it down. So every level of object you go down is a new line, a new variable, a new label that tells you what it is. So my recommendation would be just break it down as simple as possible. And if you have no idea what to do, this doesn't, take care of the home and away thing, right? But it's a start. You don't have to eat the whole cake in one bite. Take the simple case. If there's, an array of objects of blah, 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 just get the first one. Don't worry about looping through it and see how that object feels once you get it. And then you can go back and say, okay, cool. Instead of taking the first one, let's find the right one, then figure out how to do that. So yeah, and again, this is something that I do all the time when I don't understand something. Break it down into the simplest steps possible, or even simpler if you can. Break it down to impossibly simple steps until you understand each step, and then start putting them back together. That's our whole job, taking stuff apart and putting it back together, and vice versa. Does that help at all?
I think so, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and this is complex stuff when you start out. It definitely took me a long time. It took me longer than a week to get it the first time I came across stuff, I'll tell you that.
I think the way I was overcomplicating it is for some reason in my head, I wanted to make this like automated in some way. So it knew all you had to do was put in the player's name, and it would have a way to find the team and but without I was trying to do it with assuming that somebody wouldn't see the data structure. But that's just not how this lab is laid out. You obviously are supposed to know the data structure up
front. That's a great point.
That's why looping was involved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I, if there was more than home and away, I would go one further. In fact, I was helping one of our other instructors, Antonio, with a side project he was doing. And it was actually very similar to this. He's doing a contract for some sports people where he has some data in a database and he gets some data from the API. So there's I think he has teams or something in the ID or in the database and gets events from the API. And he has to match. I think the events have team IDs, so he has to take that data structure and turn it into an array of objects that had the team and the events combined, or something close to that. So it was digging through multiple layers of an object and finding different parts of it and putting together, which I believe further parts of this lab do. And he's been programming for a long time as well, and it was just stumping him. So, and we talked through it on Slack, and basically just step through the basic parts, found what those parts were, and then talked about how to put them together. And actually, what I recommended for him, since there's like a couple hundred or a couple thousand things. So I was saying, before you start going through it, you're not stuck with this data structure. This is what the structure that you're getting the data in, and we would of course like you to go through it. But if I had my druthers, which I do, I got all sorts of druthers, I would probably create a new object that combined the home and the away players. So I'd say all players or something, and then I'd probably use reduce because I love reduce. There are other ways, object assign, I think it'll do. Combine those into one object, and then you'll have to look through that one object. You don't have to do all this jiggery pokery with this. So yeah, the data is yours to do with what you like. You can turn it inside out and do all sorts of terrible things to it, as long as it gets the job done. That's all that matters. Walk back 2 steps. Do it simple first. So like we did here, we're just looking at the away players, or just looking at the home players, and then figuring out our process for just that one array. And then once we get that down and understand it, then we can take another step back and say, okay, cool. I've got that for one array or one object. What would it look like if I needed to look at both of them or a bunch of them or find the object that had it in there? We could use find. I think this is we'd have to do find on the keys of these two arrays and have a find function that returned the object that had the key in there. Would be overkill. It's JavaScript. There's 100 ways to do anything. But yeah, make it simple. Make it as simple as you need to understand it. Maybe make it a little bit simpler than that, and then build back up. Cool. We are just about at time. Any questions here about what we've done so far? Which has been a lot. Cool. Sweet. I'm going to stop sharing then. Michael, yes.
I still, I honestly can't really understand the stuff that I'm reading online about the 998.
Oh yeah, cool. Slack me that error and I'll look it up and see if I can find it.
Okay.
Probably.
I think it's happened before too, honestly. This is my first time trying to do this kind of stuff in the terminal. Or like the second time, because it, again, like I think, yeah.
Do you have any trouble running npm or anything like that?
No.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, send me the error and send me the file that you're running, and I'll see if I can duplicate it and figure it out.
Okay.
Cool. Oh look, there's chats. Look at that. Awesome. Sweet. I hope this was informative. Feel free to ask more questions going forward. Did Saki did the console log stuff that I was doing help? Like I didn't hit the debugger stuff, but this is the style I use to do that. So and this works across platforms, so you don't have to worry about this and that. Cool. Yeah, if there's nothing else, thank you for hanging out. I will post this video so you can review it on the channel if you want, and I'll see you in a short while for stand down.